Nick and I are so excited to announce a new sponsor of the How to Film Weddings podcast.
That is Core Financial. John has used them for a couple years for doing his books and his taxes and his financial planning. I was talking to him about this time last year and he recommended Core to me, and I have been using them for all of 2019. Guys, girls, people listening, what is probably the most stressful thing that you have to deal with regularly in your business? I'm going to go ahead and say that it's books, taxes, and accounting, all of that. Would you agree, John?
100%. And having the team, Jeremy and the team over at Core, as basically another member of my team, an extension of my team, I've been able to focus on what really matters, and that's running my business and taking care of clients. So we are just so pumped to have an option for you out there. They're nationwide. And so if you're interested, definitely check them out. We're going to have episodes with them on soon, but we just wanted to jump on here before the episode to tell you how excited we are, and stay tuned for more from Core Financial.
And if you would like more information about Core and what they can do for you, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/core, and you can find out all of the information about them doing bookkeeping, about them doing your taxes, about them giving you a financial plan so that you should know if you should spend money in your business or not in the following months. It's a great investment. Yes, it costs some money, but it's going to save you so much money in the long run by hiring a company like this. We are so excited to have Core on board as one of our sponsors.
Some people have a blogging method where they literally, all they do is post a wedding they shot, last week. And at some point, it's great to see the first one, it's great to see the second one. By the time you get to the 35th one, not interesting.
Hello and welcome to the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is Nick Miller and I am joined by my best good buddy, Mr. John Bunn. John, you're looking thin, you're looking trim. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing really well. I'm laser focused. I am, we're right into the middle of January. Our course launches soon. I've got the butterflies, I've got the jitters every day. I'm just so excited. We're getting so close to February 10th. Where we're launching the complete wedding videographer. I'm just I'm in this place where it's just every day I'm like, this is the best day ever. And then the next day I'm like, this is the best day ever. And so today I feel like this is the best day ever because of what we have going on with our podcast. But first, I wanted just to mention, Nick, I don't know if you know, but something is going on tomorrow.
Right. As the day that we're dropping this podcast, the next day, Tuesday, January 21st, we are doing another free workshop. If you want to sign up for that workshop, all you need to do is go to howtofilmweddings.com/free workshops. You click on the link, you'll be added to a group. We are doing a free workshop all about crushing your Instagram in 2020. John and I have done a good job of kind of growing our feeds and growing our followings. I know in the last calendar year, I went from about 2,300 to about 4,200 in a year, just continuing to grow our Instagram feed. And so we wanted to totally break down all the things that we do to grow our Instagram and how we're connecting with more people, and we're actually booking weddings through Instagram. So we are really, really excited about that.
Yeah, in that group, it's a private Facebook group. We go live, we answer your questions. Even if you're listening to this after we've done this video live, we leave them inside that group. So be sure to check out howtofilmweddings.com/free workshops. And social media is such a big deal, Nick. And as we're planning 2020 and our content and what we're doing and how we're going to grow our businesses, you have to respect Instagram and you have to respect Facebook. So today, the episode that we have, we're bringing back on Max Sadik. He's actually the man behind running our course launch. He is a genius when it comes to Facebook marketing, Instagram marketing.
Genius.
He is just all-knowing when it comes to these things. He was back on, it was episode, what number?
Episode
27?
37. Episode 37.
And he just blew so many people away. We got so many DMs about this being our favorite episode ever. It's actually the 4th most downloaded episode in the history of our podcast, and it's not a wedding videographer. And so we brought him back on. It's an incredible episode, Nick. And I guess, I mean, I was going to throw it to you to start the episode, but we've been talking for a minute, so I'm going to steal the thunder and say, let's jump into this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast.
Let's do it. Well, Max, thank you so much for jumping back on the podcast with us. We really appreciate you taking the time. How are you doing?
Doing great. Well, guys, first of all, thank you for having me back. Last time it was such a blast hanging out with you guys that when you guys said come back on a podcast, I'm like, yes, we get to hang out again. Because outside the podcast, every time we talk, it's all work. So this is fun.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. For those of you that don't know who Max is, he knows all about Facebook and Instagram and like that kind of ads and, running marketing campaigns and that kind of stuff. Episode 37 was the first time he was on. And just so you guys know, his is the number 4 downloaded podcast of all time, which is really something considering, he's not a wedding videographer. He's doing something that everyone is really interested in, and that's marketing and ads and that kind of stuff. So Max, why don't you, for those people that might not know who you are, why don't you just share your story a little bit and how you got into this whole, advertising marketing side of, this industry?
Yeah, totally. That's a fair question. So it wasn't on purpose. Like some of the best things in life that just happen on accident. I shared in the last episode we guys did together that how I got into photography, but I essentially got into marketing because I was in photography, and there wasn't a plan to, that's going to sound a little like a jerk, but it's not because of any bad intentions. It's because it never crossed my mind. There never was a plan to help others with marketing or, help photographers and videographers learn the topic. It was more like I want to be able to market myself as a photographer, and just kept diving into it deeper and deeper. And what ended up happening is kind of like unintentionally, every time I'd hang out in Facebook groups and I'd see people say, oh, I'm having a hard time with this or with that when it comes to marketing, I'd chime in and, offer to help. And it kind of just snowballed. People start asking, hey, is there maybe a course or something that you're selling? And I'm like, no, I actually don't have anything like that. And several educators in the industry kept pushing that I come out with something that would help the community, which I'm thankful for them, for pushing. Robert J. Hill, Maddie May, and several other people kept pushing, and so ended up coming out with a course, which was pretty helpful to a lot of people. And then I kind of from there realized that besides the online education, which is awesome, I also wanted to work with people one-on-one. So I started doing one-on-one coaching. So nowadays I actually spend more time helping others in our industry with marketing than I do marketing myself in my own business, because I've scaled back to, this is not new, but I've scaled back to shooting just 10 weddings a year so that I can have ample time to help. Because I realized, and again, I don't know why it never dawned on me, it kind of just flew right over my head. But I realized that I actually am making more impact helping others get business in the door than I was with my camera. Now, I'm not a bad photographer, but I'm definitely not an award-winning best photographer on this planet. And so I realized that the impact that I was making with my camera, while it was good, it wasn't measuring up to the impact that I was making helping others who are much better than me with their camera.
Yeah, and it's fun to hear your story. And if people don't follow the Heart and Hustle, is that what it's called, podcast? If they don't follow that with Evie and Lindsay, amazing photographers. I just listened to your episode with them and was inspired and just excited to call you a friend even. But why don't you talk a little bit just about kind of your how you got into just the Facebook ads, the Instagram ads, what you did to kind of just dive into all of the craziness of consuming so much content, learning about it. What started that journey for you?
Yeah, totally. So when I decided to be a photographer, I used to have a construction company which I sold, and when I decided to be a photographer, I realized that I was going to have to start a whole new journey of marketing, because in construction, the type of construction I was in, there wasn't really marketing at all. It was all either government work or large high-rise buildings. So it was more about personal relationships and knowing the market, knowing the actual industry, than it was about marketing. So when I became a wedding photographer, like my natural instinct was, well, I'll just go back and pull everything up that I learned in school while getting my master's. And I realized like that stuff was very foundationally correct, but it didn't talk about Facebook. It didn't talk about Instagram. And these are the tools that are really working today. And so I just went down the rabbit hole on YouTube, and thousands of hours later, I realized like this has to be it. Like this has to be the holy grail of the type of marketing we need to be doing as wedding photographers and as wedding videographers. And so I decided like YouTube is awesome and I learned a lot, but it's time to take it to a more formal level. So I went and I got certified by Facebook, which by the way, they just mailed me like a little cute little plaque, I guess, from all the launches. Yeah. But yeah, so I went and I got certified with them because I wanted to take what I was learning on YouTube organically. And I've also gone to like a ton of workshops, but all of these were informal. So I wanted to take that and bring it to a formal level, which, I did by going to get certified. And now actually I'm working on the next thing, taking it another level forward, working on a certification with the American Marketing Association. So incredible. My goal is to take like these really formal bodies of knowledge and see how I can mix it with what's really working. And right now it's still Instagram and Facebook by far are your two, and not just for ads. Obviously ads are great. That's what I do majority of the time. But even organically, like Instagram and Facebook is really where you should be putting about 75% of your effort when it comes to organic marketing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. And so like you start thinking about this as your business as we're getting into the new year. It's like Facebook and Instagram are such a big deal. I guess the next question I would have for you, Max, is just kind of maybe walk us through a process for us finding new clients with Facebook and Instagram. Like what should we be thinking about with 2020 being here, for getting new clients, introducing them to our brands? What strategies would you have for us?
Yeah, definitely. That's an excellent question. So there's really two different ways to look at online marketing, and for best results, you have to be taking both of these. On one side of the coin, you have the active marketing, which you essentially reach out and tap somebody on the shoulder. That's your typical, Facebook ads that just goes out to the open public, or Instagram ads. These are great because you need to be bringing fresh people to you. The problem that I see is somebody will run a Facebook ad that says booking now 2020, and so you're catching their attention. They see your ad, they click on it, but then what happens after? Gone are the days when it goes from an ad straight to a purchase. That's not happening nowadays, and it's not going to happen anymore. Like these days are not coming back. So what needs to happen is once you've attracted their attention, you need to maintain their attention somehow. Now, the best way to do it is a blend of ads and organic, right? Mm-hmm. So one easy way of doing it is just ads. The problem with doing it through just ads is that it's going to take more money. So if you blend organic into it, and the way you're doing it is you want to think of it from their point of view. If you're about to hire somebody to shoot your wedding and you are willing to invest into somebody like John, like you, who charges between $7,000 and $10,000 for a wedding film, mm-hmm. like that's a huge investment. If you were about to invest that much money, what would you be looking at?
So right? Many things, yeah.
So many things. But number one, you would want to know this person is an expert. You would want to know that when you turn over that huge amount of money to them, that they are going to deliver above and beyond, and just really give you that experience that you're looking for. Because it's not just a film. We all know that if it was just about the film, we could have grandma, use her iPhone to do a film. It's about the storytelling, and it's about how the emotions that come out. It's not just about documenting the event. It's about the emotions that your film is going to stir up when they watch it. So how can they know that you have that capability if you go to a person who doesn't know you and you say, book me for a service?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, the best strategies is when you go to a person that doesn't know you and you say, hey, come check out what I have. And then when they come over, you maintain their attention with fresh and new material via ads and via organic posting, so that over several weeks or months, they grow to appreciate who you are and what you do.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, the price point is no longer a factor, right? If I'm comparing two videographers who I've just met 30 seconds ago, then it's really going to come out to two things. It's going to come down to whose style I like better when I look at the video, and whose price is better, because I just met him 30 seconds ago. But if I'm going to hire a videographer and it's between John, who I know for about a year now, and some guy I've met 30 seconds ago, it's a totally different comparison, right? Mm-hmm. If I was to hire a videographer, John, you could be $3,000-$4,000 more. I'd still probably go for your service, because it would give me peace of mind. I know that you're very skilled. I know that you have the ability to tell a great story, and I know that I can trust you. Whereas this other guy that I met 30 seconds ago, he may be $3,000 cheaper than you, and he may have a film that's just as good as yours, but I don't know who he is. Is he going to be able to produce this for my wedding? So I think really the key is in maintaining that attention span over weeks or months, and reestablishing yourself again and again and again as an expert by delivering value.
So practically speaking, for a wedding videographer in 2020, what would a literal practical strategy, if you were a wedding videographer, what would your strategy be to do that? What would that look like?
Yeah, that's a very fair question. So I would be focusing on two separate. First of all, let's start by reminding everybody that we're looking here at a funnel. So we have multiple steps, and we need to behave differently in every step, because the people in that step are in a different frame of mind. And guys, if you want to kind of understand a little bit better about the funnels, just go listen to the other episode we did half a year ago, because I talked quite a bit about it in there. But basically, at the top of the funnel, we're dealing with people who don't know who we are, right? And I want to bring those people in two separate ways. So obviously, free is better than paid. Even though, like I said, I make the majority of my income from paid advertising, I can tell you organic is better than paid. Why? Because it's free. Free means more money stays in your pocket.
Yes.
And who doesn't like that? So I would start my strategy with hashtags and doing really solid hashtag research. Now, to put it in context for you, a solid hashtag research should take you an all day. It's like a 6 to 8 hour, activity. There are quite a bit you can do with hashtags, but you need to focus on hashtags where you're going to get seen, right? So local hashtags to you, hashtags that have to do with venues or, things that make sense. Going for a hashtag like, American videographer or something. I don't even know if there's a hashtag like that, but just an example. Or
just
hashtag
wedding
videographer.
Video.
Yeah, that's pointless in my opinion. Nobody's going to see you there. The competition is too high. And, if a bride sees you there and she's 4,000 miles away or 3,000 miles away from you, that's not necessarily the best strategy. So solid, research and posting to hashtags. Now that's going to give you a certain influx of new people who are discovering you. At this point, you have to ask yourself, is this enough? So it goes back to knowing your metrics. When you have to kind of first understand your own metrics to know how many people do I need to bring in, right? Let's say I ran a hashtag strategy and I brought in 100 people in a matter of a month. Well, is that enough for me to book the number of weddings I want to book? So you won't know if you don't do solid numbers. So how do you actually do solid numbers? Well, you start by analyzing past data. And this would apply more to people that have been in business for maybe a year or two. If you're literally just starting today and you have no past data, it's going to be a little bit more of a guessing game. And you're probably going to have to rely a little bit more on ads. So you look back in your data and you say, okay, last year in 2019, I booked 37 weddings. To book these 37 weddings, I had, 61 phone consultations. To get those 61 phone consultations, I had to have 143 inquiries. So you're starting to see ratios, right? So if I take the number of phone consultations and divide it by the number of bookings, I'll know the percentages, the relationship there. And so you go back like that. At some point, you're going to get back to Google Analytics and say, okay, so I had 100 and some inquiries. How many people actually landed on my inquiry page? Okay, there was 400 people that landed there. That means that, I have room to improve my inquiry page because less than a third actually filled out the form. All right, so I have 400 people landed on my inquiry page. How many people actually came to my website? There were 8,000 people. All right, so out of 8,000 people, 400 actually made it. So now you know your proportions. Number one, you'll know right away where you have opportunities. Crap, I got 8,000 people came to my website and only 400 of them, which is 5%, made it to the contact me form. Like, why am I losing them? Okay, time to put on some tools to investigate why I'm losing so many. But that's a separate topic. Now that you know your numbers, okay, in 2020, I want to book 40 weddings. Well, going back to the numbers that I already just outlined, how many cold eyeballs do I need on my brand to book this many, right? So now you know your numbers. Now you go back to what you ran with hashtags and you say, well, that's not enough. If I only got 100 for the week and my quota is 450 for the week, I'm going to have to supplement it with ads. So now you create ads that are similar to your hashtag posts, and you're just sending them out, you're paying for them to bring in that extra crowd, right? So at this initial level, I'm not looking for them to decide to book me, right? This would be like me walking up to a person in a bar and saying, will you marry me? It's just dumb. It's not going to work. And if they say yes, you should be really worried.
That would be a fun wedding video.
So how long do you guys know each other? Oh, we just met an hour ago. Yeah, I can only imagine doing that wedding video. But so the deal is you've brought them in. You want to bring them in with something very light, very simple. We're just trying to gauge if they're the right person and if they like your style. So it could be something as simple as an article that you've written and it's on your blog, or it could be something as simple as just one of your highlight films, and to monitor if they're going to watch it, right? Then we're going to go back and retarget those who showed interest. So for example, if I am bringing them to my blog, I'm going to retarget the top 25% of the people who stayed on my blog. If I'm showing them a wedding film, a minute and a half or 2 minute highlight, then I'm going to retarget those who watched more than half of it. Why am I retargeting like that? Because that separates the people who showed interest from the people who just kind of, flew right by. Now that I know I have a smaller group of people that showed interest, I'm going to go back and I'm going to focus my efforts on them. There isn't much that I can do organically to put a message in front of them, but what I could do is be interesting enough for them to want to come back and check me out again and again. And the more they come back and check me out, the more the algorithm is going to put my stuff in front of them. Right? If you've ever noticed, you most often, when you open Instagram and when you open Facebook, the post you see at the top will be most often from somebody you've seen very recently ago. And because the algorithm, they want to show you stuff you want to see. So they're going to go back and give you stuff that you've showed interest in. So if you're being interesting and you're posting interesting, thought-provoking articles, if you're posting, and to give you an example, to post a new wedding film every week is not interesting, because this is the deal. It's interesting when they haven't seen them before and they see your art, it's beautiful, then they see another one and another one. After a bunch of them, they all become repetitive, right? So they want interesting material that applies to them, not just to keep seeing more and more and more wedding films of people they've never met or don't know who they are. So give you an example of a good post. A friend of mine, Maddie, you guys know Maddie, she wrote an article that had a very provocative title called "No One Has the Right to Be at Your Wedding." And in the article, she argues that, the importance of the wedding is that the couple is committing to each other and they should do it in a way that's good for them, not necessarily that's good for all the guests. It's a provocative topic, and it was a provocative title. So when she posted it showed, a lot of people showed interest. So now she's getting all this traffic, right? She's not posting photos from the last elopement she shot, because nobody cares. She's posting interesting material because that's what'll get them, drawn in. Remember, they're going on Facebook, they're going on Instagram to get entertainment value, right? Think of it this way. If you open Netflix and there was an episode of Game of Thrones, you're like, yes. And then you watched it. And then you open Netflix the next day and there was the same episode of Game of Thrones. So you watched it again. At some point, you're going to be like, all right, it's not interesting anymore. I'm canceling my subscription, right? It's the same thing. So I see some people have a blogging method where they literally, all they do is post a wedding they shot, last week. And at some point, it's great to see the first one. It's great to see the second one. By the time you get to the 35th one, not interesting.
Do you remember that wedding from a month ago? Yeah, like that one that you needed to start editing yesterday? But you also need to prep today for your wedding tomorrow, and you're leaving for your first vacation in forever on Monday. So what do? It seems that the only creative part of your edits are the excuses you're going to have to give your clients. We have the solution, Wedditor. Wedditor is a team of top wedding editors, project managers, and account coordinators that help us wedding filmmakers edit. They match the right editors with your style so you can spend your time where it matters most, on your business. Nick and I both use Wedditor, and we don't know how we would run our companies without them. It takes a team to build an amazing business, and you shouldn't try to do it all on your own. Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedditor to help you free up your time so that you can focus on growing your brand. Be sure to use promo code HTFW for $50 off your first project. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing.
I love that point that you just made. I think it's really, and it's true too. Like, I go to my YouTube channel, and the video that has almost 2 million views at this point is just a groom reaction video. Like, it's, the guys melting when they see their girls. It's not, the actual full wedding video, the full highlight. We live in a world where we think that our work sells itself. Like, we don't need to do anything extra because, just watch my video and you'll know that you should hire me. Just watch my video. And that is true to an extent, which you will agree with. But if all you're doing, like you're saying, is posting the same kind of material, even if your videos are different, they're still in the same vein, right? They're still you creating them. So I love that idea of putting something that's relevant but different. People want to learn from people and hire people that know the industry. So, her posting that article, which I read, which was fantastic, about no one can come. No one is privileged to come to your wedding. So we're posting information, we're writing blogs, we're maybe creating talking head YouTube videos where we're talking about timeline for the wedding day, or we're talking about, where your ceremony should be versus indoor versus outdoor, just helpful information that shows you as an authority, and then bring them into your video. Like that's the kind of stuff that you're talking about that can really help us improve our businesses and grow our business. Because I think the mistake that people make are, right, they go to, I did an ad and I boosted my video, or I shared my video and all these people, but no one booked me. It's because you're asking them to marry you on the first date.
Right. You also have to, this is the one super important thing. You must learn to put yourself in the shoes of the person seeing your ad. And if you can't do that, if you can't develop the needed empathy, your ads will fail. And when I say the word empathy, I mean in the literal definition of empathy. The literal definition is being able to feel what the other person is feeling. Mm-hmm. This is the thing. We sit there and we spend hours crafting our art, and then we want to put it up on display. But you have to see it from the other point of view. Like, they are standing in line at the bank, and they just need they have 5 minutes empty. There's 2 people in front of them that they want to fill up the 5 minutes with very light entertainment, something that'll stimulate their mind. if you put an ad with a beautiful video and then somebody clicks on that ad and goes to your booking page, how out of context does that feel to somebody standing in line in a bank, 2 or 3 minutes away from their turn to walk up to the teller, right? Now, if I'm sitting at home and I'm intentionally shopping for a wedding videographer, then yeah, that's a very timely way to serve me an ad that'll take me to your contact form. But what are the odds that you're going to catch me in that situation on the first time you try, right? So you're much better off giving good value of entertainment, or it doesn't have to be entertainment. It could be educational. People want to understand stuff all the time. You're not going to win on the quality of your films. And I'll give you an example. So you guys know I help educators launch courses. And one educator that I'm working with, she was really, she's not in our industry. She's educating people on how to become a style consultant. And she really doesn't know any videographers, had no knowledge of how to proceed with hiring a videographer. So she asked me for help. She said, hey, can you help me pick a videographer? And I was like, yeah, that's going to be a piece of cake. I'm just going to ask my buddies if I can post in their group. And there's thousands of videographers in there. Surely somebody's going to want to, film your course. And you guys remember I posted it in your group, not knowing that was not cool. Sorry about that.
You can do whatever you want. You're Max. You can do whatever you want.
But what I realized right away, so within minutes there was 3 gazillion trillion people commenting on my post wanting the job. And I was my approach was well, great, I'll just go look at their portfolios and narrow it down to the first 2-3 people. Well, guess what? Holy smoke. There was 3 gazillion people commenting on that post and all of them had amazing work. Mm-hmm. And I was well, now what? We can't interview 400 people, right? Mm-hmm. I literally sat there for hours clicking on each person website, looking at their portfolio, and I'm yeah, this one is great too. All right, next one. Whoa, this one is really good too. I'm okay, so that's not gonna cut it, right? So I was I need to start reading. Watching their videos is just not gonna make a difference because they're all good. So then I started reading what they're writing on their website. And as soon as I started reading, that became real easy. All the 400 options narrowed down to 5. Because the majority had just nonsense on their website. But there were a few that were very this is our approach, this is what, everything was clear to me. Even though I've never in my life hired a videographer to shoot a course before, doing it with my client together, once I start reading and understanding the few that knew how to market, it was clear they were going to be that. And we had some people that were a couple of grand cheaper. And the client elected to pay $2,000 more just to get somebody that we felt confident was going to produce. And it paid off. Her videos came back amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so in that order, we're talking about maybe, the first time somebody's introduced to you, they're in line at the bank and you serve them with a good piece of content. They click on your site, they read it. What action steps are next? What do you recommend we do at that point? Should we have something they could download? What are you telling people, that they should be doing next?
That's an excellent question. So you need to distinguish based on what stuff they're consuming on your website. You should have material that lines up with the mindset of different phases of planning a wedding. So to give you an example, because I know that sounds a little intangible. So if you walked into a room and the room was there was a gazillion people there and they were all engaged couples, right? And you wanted to specifically identify engaged couples who were just starting to plan. Literally, they're at the very beginning. And all you were allowed to do is say things like, raise your hand if you'd like to learn about, and fill in the blank. So what would you say to those couples? If your goal was to isolate only those that just are starting to plan, right? So one example could be, raise your hand if you've just started shopping for a venue and need help. It's just one example. Another example could be, raise your hand if you've just gotten engaged and you have no idea where to start with planning, right? So these type of raise your hand questions help me identify out of all these engaged couples, which ones are in the very beginning of the planning. right? So the way you would do that with ads and your blog or your YouTube channel is you would put out videos on those topics. So you could have a talking head video of you educating them on how to go about finding a venue. Or when you're in a venue, how to decide whether this is going to be good lighting on the day of my wedding. So that material helps you identify people that are in the beginning of the journey. You could separately have material that speaks to people who are much closer to booking a videographer. So videographers on average get booked after the photographer, but not that long after. So if you wanted to target people who were in that stage where they're about halfway through the planning, but they haven't gotten to the videographer yet, educate them on how to choose a photographer. What to ask your photographer, how to make sure your photographer is going to play nice with your videographer. And there's a million resources you can put on that topic. Now, if you have a nice blend of all these different resources that correspond to the different places in the timeline, then you could easily say, okay, everybody who's been reading my articles about the beginning of the planning, I'm going to serve them with material that's relevant for that point of the journey. Everybody who's been reading middle up. So if they're reading the beginning, we know they're not ready to book a videographer. So I'm not going to send them to stuff that would be encouraging them to look into me and book me. I'd send them more stuff about planning, but a little bit farther into the journey. Because once they've identified themselves, they've put themselves into my funnel, I can kind of know on average where they are and how they're progressing. Because all couples plan their wedding between 6 months and 24 months. Like if you plotted all of the weddings for the last 20 years, right, you'd see that the majority of them got married between 6 and 24 months after their engagement. There's very few that fall under the 6 months, and there is very few that fall over the 24 months. Mm-hmm. So once you've gotten them into your funnel, based on the whatever material you put in front of them, you can kind of just more or less guess their progress and kind of keep serving the right material. Now, it doesn't matter which way you get them in. At some point, like, so if it's in the beginning, you want to give it a little bit longer time. Maybe you serve them 3 or 4 different pieces of content before you ask for name and email. If it's in the middle, you have less time. Maybe you just serve them 1 or 2 pieces of content before you ask for name and email. If it's at the end and you know they're going to be booking a videographer in the next, month or so, maybe you want to skip the warming up and ask for name and email right away. Now, you're not asking for an inquiry. You're just asking for a name and email. Now, why in the world would somebody give you their name and email if it's not part of an inquiry? Well, very simple. If you have something to offer them that's worth enough to give you their name and email, they will. And to give you guys an example, we are doing your course launch prep right now, and we're collecting a tons of names and emails in exchange for a very valuable lesson. You guys, what you gave away is, by the way, mind-blowing. I watched that 47-minute video. I think it's 47 minutes. Holy smoke. You guys really know what you're talking about when it comes to consultations. Like, I learned a couple of things. And I thought I'm really good at consultations, but I learned a couple of things. It's like, why are all these people willingly putting their name and email on your website into that box? Well, because they believe whatever you're going to give them has value, and they're right. When they get it, like, we can see the comments. Everybody's like, oh my God, this is amazing, because it is amazing. But they wouldn't, if you just approached a random videographer who've never heard of you, and you were like, hey, can I have your name and email? They'd be like, no. But you're telling them, I'm going to give you this really awesome, valuable thing if you give me your name and email. And they're like, oh, okay. Right? And so it's the same thing with couples. What can you give them that will be valuable enough for them to give you the name and email? Mm-hmm. Now, couples need lots of help. If you've never planned a wedding, let me tell you, it's freaking hard. Mm-hmm. And so any help I could get, I will take it. Right? If it's legitimate help, if you're not wasting my time. So that's why the path is really easy. If they're in the beginning, show them a bunch of content, for 3, 4, 5 different times, let them warm up to you, then put something in front of them that's really valuable in exchange for name and email. When I say really valuable, for example, a comprehensive checklist with everything you need to know about planning a wedding. That's valuable, right? It could be a 1-pager PDF that has just this giant list of everything I possibly need to think about. When my wife and I moved to California a few weeks ago, we left all our stuff behind in Florida. We literally came with nothing. And so we needed everything new. And we're like, so what do we actually need? And my wife went and she Googled like what to get for a new house. And there was this website where in exchange for email and name, gave you a PDF with every item you could possibly need in the house. Let me tell you, it was really helpful. We printed it out. We went to a bunch of different stores, and it was really, really useful to like be able to check off items as we were getting them. And there were a ton of items on there we would have forgotten if it wasn't for that list. So now when these people come back and retarget my wife with an ad for something else, she's like, oh, these were these helpful people that really helped us out when we moved in a few weeks ago. It's no different in the video business. Give them something really good. Don't just trick them. Don't just tell them it's valuable. Get their name and email and then give them something useless because you'll ruin that relationship. Really put in some work into it. And then after that, it'll be no brainer. They'll book you even if you're a couple of grand more than the next guy or gal.
Yeah, we've all done that. I know, gone on and saw this freebie and you're like, oh, this would be really good. And you download it and it's utter junk. Like you were better off not downloading it. And then what is that going to say to your potential clients if you're just giving them something that's fluffy and not worth it? They're like, oh, Nick is not valuable because he gave me something for free that was absolutely awful and didn't help me at all. So that's a great thing to keep in mind. Give them valuable stuff to continue to warm them up. John, what do you think about, do you have something there over there? I see you're holding your finger up.
Yeah, I was just going to say that like, this is, I'm sitting here texting Nick saying, wow, this is so good because
he literally did. Right there. He did.
I think that so many people, especially wedding videographers, are in their little dungeon doing their editing, thinking, I'm going to put out a film. Okay, the calls are going to start coming in. I put a film out, and it's like, when I first met Nick, I was like, your films are better than mine, but I'm better at getting people to see my films than you are. And he was like, dang it, you're right. And so like, not only just getting to see the films, but like Facebook, owns Instagram, and Facebook and Instagram are where the majority of engaged couples are spending their time online. There's TikTok, there's YouTube, there's things, but like when you boil it down still, Facebook and Instagram are king and they're owned, by the same company. And so what is so great about the ad product and taking the time, like Max is saying, to get to know it or to bring somebody on your team that does know that kind of stuff is you can target somebody that just changed their relationship status to engaged. You can target females that are this age that live in this, vicinity. You can, there's so many different tools that you can, if you're thinking on this level that Max is saying, you're saying, oh, I'm going to serve up content. He's talking, I'm thinking, man, it would be really easy for me to create some content that said, picking the best venue in Tulsa for your wedding. That's really easy for me to do. I've been to pretty much all of them. I could give some clips from each one and talk about it and serve that up to anybody that has recently put that they're engaged, or a friend of somebody that's engaged, or just females in general, because if somebody clicks it, most people used to change their status to engaged, and not everybody does that. But if I'm serving it specifically to females that are between 20 and 30 that live in Tulsa, anybody that clicks that, now I can look at the data and say, hey, they're interested in that. They're either dating somebody, they're either engaged, or they're just interested in this, and I want to be that person that shows up again and again. And so, like you said, going and walking up to the bar, trying to ask somebody to marry you, that's not the way to do it. And it's not, 2002 anymore. You can't just do that on the internet. You've got to sit down, ask if you can sit there, ask them if you can buy them a drink, get to know them, have a little bit of conversation, then maybe ask for their Snapchat handle or their Instagram. It's like you want to tiptoe into these waters. So anyway, my mind is just, every time I talk to Max, of course, because he's Max, but my mind is just like, yep, gonna do that, gonna do this, gonna do that. So that was what I had my hand up for, Nick.
Okay. No, that was really good.
It was.
How do you deliver your wedding films? Dropbox? Disk? A subscription service that is way too expensive? We have the answer for you. WedFlow. WedFlow is a cloud-based digital delivery system that we love. I personally have been using WedFlow for months, and I can't get over how great of a service it is. First off, WedFlow is pay per project. That's right, you only pay for the data that you need. WedFlow uses a premium viewing experience accessible on all modern devices and playback up to 4K. With custom branding and theming, wedding filmmakers can deliver an experience that's truly on brand from start to finish. Head to howtofilmweddings.com/WedFlow and upload your first project for as little as $1 per gigabyte. WedFlow, a whole new take on wedding film delivery.
We know the time suck that is searching for the perfect song for your wedding film. MusicBed has spent years collaborating with artists, bands, and composers to make it easier than ever for anyone to find the right song for their video.
With amazing artists like Chapters, Tony Anderson, and The Light the Heat, MusicBed is the best place for wedding videographers to get licensed music.
Their subscription service was a life changer for me, especially since all of their subscription music is pre-cleared for every social media platform: Facebook, Instagram, Love Stories TV, and my personal favorite, YouTube, all pre-cleared.
And if you are interested in a free month of a MusicBed wedding subscription, head over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed. When you sign up, use the promo code HTFW and you will get your first month for free.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But literally, John did text me while Max was talking. This is good stuff. So let me shift a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and jump into our question of the day presented by Wedded Earth. Wedded Earth, more than freelance, more than outsourcing. And this comes from Blake, the editor, who edits all of our podcasts. And the first time that we had Max on, Blake texted us and said, "This is pure gold. I love it. I've listened to it so many times." Like, he actually got certified to do Facebook stuff because of your podcast and, listening to all of your stuff. So he asked this question: since Facebook is only showing my post to a very small percentage of his followers, does it make sense to spend a little bit of money boosting each video when I release them on Facebook?
That's a yes and a no. So yes, I would put money behind every single post you're posting. No, I would not boost it. I would not boost it because the boost feature in Facebook, and there's an ad feature on Instagram, which is essentially another boost. They are very, very poor at targeting. They're poor at providing good data. They're putting your camera in automatic mode. They're just not good tools. What I would do is this. Yes, every single post, I want 100% of my audience to see it. So I would put $5 to $10 behind it, depending also on the size of your audience. On average speaking, and it will vary a lot because it's a bidding process, but on average speaking, it'll cost you about a penny per person. So if you have 1,000 people follow you, it takes 1,000 pennies to have them all see your post. If you have 1 million people follow you, it takes 1 million pennies, right? So you kind of just do your own math, how much budget you need. I know that for the majority of filmmakers, just a few bucks, $5, maybe $6 will do the trick. Now, this is what I would do. I would go into the ads manager. I would click on create a new campaign. I would use the campaign type that's called reach. Reach is the type of campaign type that does two things. Number one, it turns off the algorithm as far as choosing the best prospects. And it tells the algorithm, I want to try and touch everybody on this list, not just cherry pick people. So it's good for small lists of people that are already following you. Number two, it's the only type of ad on Facebook, the type called reach, that allows you to cap impressions. Now, what does that mean, to cap impressions? If I run my ad on any other objective, right? And Nick here is an Instagram addict, and he's on Instagram 5 times a day, 7 days a week. And John, on the other hand, goes on Instagram just twice a week. That's it. So they're both following me, right? If I run it on any other objective without a cap, Nick is going to eat up a lot more of my budget because he's going to see my ad 7, 8, 10 different times. And John may, by the time he gets there, may not be able to see it because I'm all out of budget because Nick finished, right? So how do I go around it? If I go for the reach objective, I can say, I want my post to not show up more than X number of times per Y number of days. right? So I can say no more than twice per day, or no more than once per 3 days, and so on and so forth. What that does, it ensures that, number one, Nick is not going to get frustrated by seeing the same crap all over and over again. And, you know, I don't want to bore him out. And on the flip side, he's not going to eat up all my budget. And so John won't be able to see it. So I would go create a reach campaign. I would set a frequency of once per day, right? Because I'm only going to run it for 2 or 3 days until I have my next post. So I would set once per day. And if Nick sees it overall once per day, 3 times, like 3 days in a row, that won't cause much harm. Right, that wouldn't be annoying. Whereas if you saw it 30 times a day, that would be annoying. Mm-hmm. So I would set that frequency. Then on the ad set level, I would give it the appropriate budget, a penny per follower. And under audiences, I would, if you don't have an audience that's specifically retargeting your Instagram followers, there's a very, and you can also do the same for your Facebook followers. There's a very easy way to create it. When you're setting up your audience, at the very top where it says, you know, custom audience, there's a little button that says create new. You just click on create new, click on custom audience, and the pop-up that's gonna come up, and then you click, you're gonna have 2 different buttons so you're gonna have to do this twice. One's gonna say off of Instagram, the other one's gonna say off of Facebook. So you click Instagram, and then it's gonna give you this window with several options. So you can choose anybody and everybody who's engaged with your Instagram. So that means everybody. If I like your post on a hashtag, if I follow you, if I message you, doesn't matter what I do. Any and all interaction with your post will get me on that list. Or you can be more specific. You can say people who've actually been to my profile, or people who've literally commented on my stuff or messaged me. So you can be like a little bit stricter. Or you can be more open and say any and everybody who's interacted with my content. So you do one for Facebook, one for Instagram, and then you put, I don't know, $3 to $5 behind it. And then when you go to the ad creation stage of it, rather than creating a new ad with an image and text, you switch it. There's a button at the top that allows you to switch to use existing, which means you're going to pull an existing post into Ads Manager. Then while you have that open a new tab, go to business.facebook.com, top menu, click on where it says, you're going to have like a little skinny menu, and at the bottom it says all tools. Click on all tools. It's going to unfold it to this like really large menu. And in that really large menu, there's an option that says page posts. You click on that. That's going to show all of your posts that you've ever done. It's broken into 3 categories: ads, regular posts, and scheduled posts. So you need to go to the appropriate category, find the post that you want to promote, grab its ID number, then head over to the other tab, paste that ID number, and your post will be right there. And then just click submit. That way, you're running that same organic post. You're not recreating it. It's not a different post that looks identical to it. It's that actual post with the actual likes and comments that it already had. And so what you're really doing by doing that is you're ensuring that every single follower sees every single post of yours every time. You know, yes, it's costing a few bucks, but you're always top of mind. They're always thinking about you. They always remember that you exist, which is worth the money.
Yeah. And we're
So
talking,
good.
you know, it's not like we're talking, you know, $50, $100, $200. I mean, you're literally saying anywhere from, depending on your Facebook following, Instagram following, you know, $5 to $25, you know, for maybe your big films or something like that, so that they see all that.
Literally, just the math to do is a penny per person. So if you have 1,000 followers, that would be what?
$10.
$10.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that I've heard it so many times in the groups, and I just want to debunk this myth. And like Facebook and Instagram, the advertising, you know, the actual tool that they've created is the best marketing tool in the world, as far as I'm concerned. And so many people I see in the other groups online basically say, Facebook ads don't work. I tried them. They don't work. It's a waste of money. You should, you know, do something else. What would you say to somebody that would say that?
Well, number one, I would say to them that in 2019, using only Facebook and Instagram ads and no other advertising, 2 of my clients made more than $1 million. And if you add up all of my clients together, they've made more than $20 million using only Facebook and Instagram ads, nothing else. So I would be asking, how is it possible that it works for them and not working for you? Yeah. Right? We're using the same platform. So you must be doing something wrong. Right. I would also say this to them. I would also say that for the first year and a half of me doing it, it didn't work for me either. I just kept banging my head against the wall and insisting. What I kept saying is, yes, it's not working. Yes, I'm acknowledging that I'm burning my money for no good reason. But I also realize I must be screwing this up because it's working for others. So here I go again for another round of learning and understanding. It's not going to work for you on the first try. Just like a camera didn't work for you on the first try, you had to learn it, right? It's the same way. That's what I would say to them. Just if it's not working for you, you're not doing it right. Because if the platform itself was crappy, it would fade into oblivion. Take Craigslist, for example, right? The platform was crappy, and today, Craigslist, wait, what is that? Most people don't even know what it is. Mm-hmm. Only 5 years ago, Craigslist was relatively known, and 10 years ago, it was dominating that space. Because it was crappy, it faded into oblivion. If Facebook and Instagram ads were crappy and they didn't work, people wouldn't be spending billions of dollars on them. Yeah. Right? Good. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's solid info. And again, we do that one thing. We hear this over and over again. I think I actually used this analogy on the last one. People with their YouTube channel, they quit it because, they're not getting their subscribers or not doing it, but they uploaded one video. The same thing with this. You do it one time and nothing happened from it. So you're like, oh, I quit. If we took that approach to our businesses and I filmed a wedding and no one hired me immediately after they saw the video, so I'm quitting, then, it's the exact same approach. You got to practice it. You got to keep at it. I know Max has just dumped a ton of information that, as John was saying, my head is swimming and I'm like, I want to try this reach thing and figure out, how to do that and just, get my people to see my work in our videos. Man, it's so good. Max, real quick, as we're running in towards the end on time, where, if someone is interested in learning more from you, learning about you, maybe getting some of this advertising information into their own brains, where can they go to find some of that?
Yeah, totally. So I have a group on Facebook, which everybody's welcome to join. Just the easiest way to find the group is just go to this web address, marketingbymax.com. It'll load a page that just says, for Facebook group, click here. You click there, it takes you straight to Facebook, to the group. It doesn't ask for your email address or name or anything. It just, I did it so it's easier to say it without having to put anything clickable. So marketingbymax.com. Inside the group, number one, there's a ton of good discussion. There's a lot of really awesome people in there. Majority of the group are photographers and videographers, but there's also a smaller percentage of other wedding vendors in there. The whole group is dedicated to marketing, not just Facebook and Instagram ads. So you'll see a lot of discussion on the topic of marketing, getting yourself booked. And then on the side panel, you'll see a button that says units. And inside there's about 30 hours of video workshops. They're not fancy looking. They're just a screen recording of me sitting in front of the computer and showing you how to set stuff up. They're 100% free. You don't have to do anything to get them. You just go watch them. And then if you have questions, post it in the group, tag me in the group, and you'll see I'm not going to be the only one answering. There's going to be a lot of people jumping in and helping. So that's probably the easiest way. If you're looking to take it to the next level, then just reach out. You can find me through the group and, we can talk about that. But primarily speaking, my goal is trying to provide enough free education that if somebody wanted to get to the point where they can do this on their own without having to spend a penny, that's my goal. So I keep adding to that library. The last couple of months, I haven't been very good about adding to that library, but I'm getting back into it now. And there's already enough, 30 some hours. So the goal is I want to give the tools to those who want to really apply themselves completely for free.
Yeah. And, after being introduced to you, at the first I was like, who is this guy? What's his MO? What's like? What is his plan with me? You know, like skeptical like anyone. And just over the last year of getting to know you, you know, working with you on our course that we're launching, all of these things, it's like the people out there that are listening, Max is a wealth of knowledge that wants to provide information and help you. He has free stuff. He has things you can pay for. But like, again, he's working the same strategy. I'm working. We're how to film weddings. We're all giving free content and introducing you to us and offering you other things. Yes, but it comes down to we are trying to do good by people and just take care of people and give them, you know, the ability to grow their business. And so marketingbymax.com, check it out. We're all in that Facebook group. You know, pretty much everybody I know that's in our Facebook group is over there because it's such good information. You know, it's an honor to have you back on the podcast. And I know we'll have you back on again soon. But like, just really a deep thank you from me and Nick, because you've changed our lives. You know, you're an awesome dude, and like we're so glad that you're part of our team and that, you know, we can help connect you to so many more of, you know, the following that we have. And like, you know, that's just one of the things that I love about this podcast and what we're doing is connecting with people like Max and connecting our listeners with people like Max, because when we apply these tools and these techniques, we all get better. And that's the point of How to Film Weddings, is we want to lift that industry. So Max, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time. I know how busy you are. I know that you're a very, very busy dude. So taking the time, I know our listeners, if they could say it, they would say thank you as well.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. And congratulations on a really awesome course. I see a lot of education out there. And I have to say, you guys really I haven't seen all of, because you guys have your course has 3 gazillion hours. So I haven't seen all of it yet. But the videos that I have seen, and because I guess I get a little bit of an unfair advantage, because I'm launching your course, I get to see some of the stuff for free. But holy smokes, mind blowing, literally one of the best courses I've seen. Really unbelievable.
That means a lot coming from you. We've poured pretty much our heart and soul, blood, sweat, and tears into that course, and we cannot wait for it to launch in just a couple of weeks. So we are pumped for the world to see it.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, when you buy the course and you watch it, all these 40 or 30 or whatever hours, just remember that right below the screen where you can't see, neither one of those dudes are wearing pants.
It's true for a lot of it. We recorded, it got hot in that studio with those lights. We said it was, what do we say? It smelled like heat and feet in the studio.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Just remember, when you're watching it the entire 30 hours or whatever, there's no pants, and it's right below the cut of the screen.
Max, we told you not to tell people that. We told you in the notes before the show, do not tell people about the no pants.
Sorry, guys.
No, man. Well, thank you so much for being on,
thank
Max,
you.
and we will definitely have you back on soon.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Again, Max, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. John and I were both sitting here messaging back and forth saying, this is good stuff. And my brain is reeling from all the info. Definitely going to have to listen to this one again. We want you to go and check out CompleteWeddingVideography.com. There's actually a freebie there from our course where you can learn all about our consultations, how we do them, how we break them down. It is quality, free information. Very, very quality. So we want you to check that out. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcatcher, rate and review us. And until next time, we will see ya.
See ya.